30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. I would say it's a beautiful Friday only because it's a Friday. Now, I'm going to get out of the way for a second and confirm what you probably suspect. That is the guitar scoreboard out at First Horizon Park. That's where we are broadcasting. However, given the weather forecast, which I have been watching now for about 4 days, we worried about this starting Monday when they kept using words Torcon. Not that I know exactly what Torcon is, but I can tell you this. When you hear Torcon 5, look out. Sounds made the right decision tonight. If y'all will, turn up my volume just a tad. Sounds made the right decision tonight not to play this game. Because I don't think it's necessarily what you see out there right now that's the problem. It's what's coming. That's your weather forecast for today. However, the good news is Saturday and Sunday look pretty darn good. Billy, let's start with you. How are you?
I'm good, George.
Oh, look at your new little equipment over there. This is very special.
Well, it's funny. It's not new. The place we're in is new, but
First Horizon Park.
Yeah, it's comfortable in here. They gave us a suite, typically the Lipscomb baseball suite. So shout out to Jeff Forehand and the Lipscomb baseball program for throwing their suite at us.
I think they'd be repulsed if they knew we were in here.
I think they would too.
They're on the road though, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah.
I think they are out on the road. So they may not even know we're in here.
Yeah. Well, great to have you with us.
Thank you, George. It's good to be here.
And
it's not the best weather day, but it's not bad right now. So
who's that to your left?
That's David Wilson.
Okay, David, I'm George Plaster. How you doing?
It's good. Nice to meet you.
Good to have you with us. What's going on over there?
Nothing much. Just looking at the Lipscomb baseball schedule. They're at home this weekend.
They're at home.
Oh,
I bet they don't play tonight.
Probably not.
Ooh. And I guess the same goes for Vandy. They've got Georgia scheduled tonight. And even with that turf they play on, some of what they're talking about tonight could get a little rough.
Yeah, they moved up their start to 4:30. So
did they?
Yeah, it's interesting. The Sounds.
Yeah,
this is not a shot at the Sounds at all. But Vanderbilt, they did move their first pitch to 4:30. Not even sure if that was possible for the Sounds, but yeah, Vandy moved theirs up to 4:30. So they're hoping, they get in and out of there so that the fans who do go can be safe.
There's probably a little bit of difference in it that the gate on a minor league deal is so important.
Right.
Way more important probably than it is on the college level.
And you look to tomorrow, talking to people here, they're excited about their doubleheader tomorrow. It'll be 2 7-inning games for the Sounds here. So
what time do they start tomorrow?
So first pitch tomorrow is at 5:05. So gates will open at 4:05 tomorrow afternoon. Expecting a good crowd though.
Oh, I bet.
If you have one ticket for either game, you can use it for both.
Yeah.
So
good. Excellent. Okay. So normally we begin the show. Well, normally we don't have a guitar scoreboard in the background.
No.
But that's what we have today. So what's the update? Where are we going?
Well, we're going college football first, George. Former Navy coach Ken Niumatalolo. Obviously, we know him.
By a vowel.
Yes. But he's headed to UCLA. He's going to be an advisor for Chip Kelly's staff at UCLA. So that's an interesting move because he's staying in the college game, but like a lot of former head coaches, he's moving into an advisory role. So, he's going to serve in whatever way they basically need him.
Yeah, this is interesting because think about it. Chip Kelly has been perceived as a throw it all over the field, right?
Yep.
And Ken Niumatalolo in his days as a head coach for a service academy, it was a lot of this.
Handoff left.
Run it all over the field.
Triple option.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. They and Army and Air Force have all run that offense. And so that's very interesting that's where they'd go with that.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of teams are doing that, George. I mean, Nick Saban with.
No, I get the fact that the analyst part, they're all
Right.
doing it.
Yeah.
But he and Kelly, to me, are polar opposites as far as how they try to skin the cat offensively.
Yeah, Niumatalolo told ESPN today that although there were some other opportunities more specific to a coaching title, UCLA just felt right because of previous ties to that area for him. So
interesting. Hope it goes well for him.
He's used to the area, and good luck to Niumatalolo. Buy a vowel.
Buy a vowel, man.
Other college basketball news, George. Texas Tech has hired Grant McCasland as their men's basketball coach. Never heard of the name, but he just signed a 6-year deal to be their head coach. He spent the past 6 years as the head coach at North Texas.
Well, let me say this.
And they just beat UAB last night for an NIT title. So you got to imagine, did they look at that and say?
I'm sure this had already been done.
Had already been done.
It had already been done. They were waiting for their season to be over to officially do it. I'll tell you this. Now, I've seen North Texas maybe 4 times this year. They are really well coached.
Oh, yeah.
They get after people on the defensive end, as does UAB. I thought going in that UAB had better athletes. Shows what I know.
Yeah, I mean, what a battle that was last night.
Oh, my God.
Sure
it was a rock fight.
We'll talk more about that. But McCasland, he had 3 Conference USA titles. He went 2-11 and 89, and they went 31-7 this year. So we talked a lot about UAB being a really good team this year.
But it was North Texas in the end.
Right, North
Texas.
Texas.
They beat them 3 out of 4 in the in their matchups. This is, I think I heard last night in the telecast, like maybe the 5th or 6th time in NCAA history that 2 teams have played each other 4 times in a year.
Wow. Conference USA was a battle all year long, and we're finding out how good of a conference that was. North Texas led the nation in scoring defense the past 2 years. They held opponents to just 56 points. So a lot of defense heading into Lubbock. George, tonight, I know we've talked about this, women's basketball Final Four gets underway tonight. I know that might be involved in one of your bets of the day. We'll stay tuned for that.
As a matter of fact, it is. I was goaded into it by Watson Brown.
Yes, you were. Watson told you to take Iowa.
And he did, and I am.
Well, boom, there it is.
There it is.
There it is. The pick has been revealed. We'll see about the line. We'll tease that.
So this young lady, Caitlin Clark, for them to be close, she has got to play out of her mind, and she might. She's apparently that good.
She's used to doing that.
If you have not seen her play, their game is at probably around 8:30 Central Time, give or take how long the first game between LSU and Virginia Tech goes. Take a look at this young lady. She is something really special.
She sure is. And another good game on the other side, LSU and Virginia Tech. Watson talked about Virginia Tech being a sleeper. We'll see if they can pick off Kim Mulkey and the Tigers in Dallas at the American Airlines Center. So great venue there, and there'll be a lot of people there. The
home of Kyrie Irving. So wherever you're going to sit tonight, brush it off because there may be fleas on those seats. If you get in bed with a dog, expect fleas.
So you're saying the arena might be cursed a little bit.
I'm just saying that
by Kyrie Irving.
The Mavericks have got to look around and go, there's a reason why suddenly they get a second superstar and their team has gone south. What's the common denominator? Kyrie. It's always Kyrie Irving.
It always is, and that was the fear when they picked him up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say.
There's not much else to say. But George, let's go back to college basketball real quick. Zach Edey has been named National Player of the Year by AP, almost unanimous. So, almost everyone was in agreement there. He shot 62% from the floor, averaged 2 blocks per game, and he led Purdue to its first outright Big Ten regular season title since 2017. So well-deserved for Zach Edey. Obviously not the way Purdue and him wanted it to end against Fairleigh Dickinson in the first round. But, I mean, I can't think of another player, maybe Brendan Miller, but with it being almost unanimous, there are a lot of people that thought Zach Edey deserved that, and I think he did. But Brandon Miller was up there. I think he was.
Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument for probably 2 or 3 players. Edey gets it. Now, in fairness, at the end of the season, it was Edey by himself. Those Purdue kids didn't want the ball. 2 weeks ago when they played Fairleigh Dickinson, nobody wanted the ball in the last 10 minutes.
No.
And that puts a lot of pressure on that kid.
It sure does. And I think it put a damper on what they did this year.
Yeah, they had a great year and then gagged it.
Yeah, they sort of faltered down the stretch too a little bit. They lost.
February was not good for them.
No, it wasn't. And it continued in March. So congrats to Zach Edey. He is the National Player of the Year. To the NFL, George, back to the Combine. Anthony Richardson threw yesterday and looked really good. He completed the last of 45 passes, and he looked really good. 6'4", 244-pounder, and all of a sudden he is up in the top 10, maybe even top 5.
Okay, and you know what my reaction is? Whoop-de-doo. And I don't mean to be ugly. I don't mean this on him, although I've got real questions about who he is. There's no question he's a great athlete.
Right.
But what do you really learn at these pro days when you're throwing against air?
Well, in terms of air, you can't learn a whole lot, but I think just physically seeing that arm in action.
Oh, he's got an arm.
Yeah. But it's not like they haven't seen it before, on a TV screen. But now they get to see it in person, talk to him, interview him. And the interview process is important as well. Apparently, Will Levis has been bombing the interview process.
Has he really?
I heard yesterday where most of the interviews have not gone well for him.
I saw that as well. And one word that they kept on saying about Will Levis is arrogant. And that's not a good word to have associated with you.
Yeah.
So, but those pro days are built for you to be successful. So I don't take a lot about throwing in shorts to your wide receivers, people that you have built chemistry with. The tape doesn't lie, and that's what's the kind of out on Anthony Richardson. Can he do it when there's people out there defending?
He's ranged anywhere from brilliant to really not very good. When he played Vandy here, I didn't think he was worth a hoot.
Well, speaking of Vandy, Levis and Richardson both lost to Vandy. So I don't know that scouts are looking.
So you think that's being asked in the interview? Why'd you lose to Vandy?
What happened in that Vandy game?
Yeah. I would think it would be very interesting to ask him, why do you think you have these wide variations from brilliant to really not very good at all?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what the interview process is for. I mean, they're able to sort of stick up for themselves and, give some excuses maybe, but, at the same time, that's what happens in the Combine. So
yeah. Okay, we done?
That's it, George.
Mark Griffin's going to join us after the break. Among the topics that we're going to get into, the dreaded transfer portal. What are the SEC schools dealing with? Stay tuned. And as we go to the break, let me use that number again. There are 45 million of you in this country who tomorrow will bet on the Final Four. It's an impressive number. Right now at Action 24/7 Sports, you can use the promo code George, not Jorge, but George, and get a 300% deposit match up to $20 on your first deposit. Action 24/7 is Tennessee's only locally owned and operated sports book. If you got any questions, these are good folks. They are your neighbors. They live in Nashville and in Tennessee. So they want local business. Download the app or visit 247.com to start winning. And please bet responsibly. Hey, Bill.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're gonna help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
We are back. First Horizon Park is where we're broadcasting today. The Sounds game has been postponed for tonight, and that is, by all weather accounts, the right move because it's going to get big-time hairy. They've got a doubleheader tomorrow, 2 7-inning games starting, did I hear 5 or 5:30?
It's 5:05.
5:05.
Gates will open at 4:05.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Mark Griffin, former University of Tennessee basketball star, joining us for his weekly hoops visit. Where are you today?
Home. Believe it or not, George,
Nice.
I'm home. Nashville.
Okay. You'll love where I'm going to start this. You ready?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm also a little sad, George, because our time is coming to an end here soon with this tournament. Starting to get a little depressing, but after all this exciting that's going on this weekend, I should say.
So you played for a very demanding coach in Knoxville and a very good coach in Don DeVoe. And I've got to think there were days where poor old Mark Griffin caught the wrath of Don DeVoe. Did you ever walk off of that Stokely Center court, or Thompson Bowling as the case may have been, and said, I'm out of here. I've had enough?
Yes, several times. And it's interesting your lead in with this, because this is going to lead in, I'm sure, to the transfer portal, George.
Yes.
But to answer your question, several times, and I made calls home to my parents, and they said, you're not coming back here. And it was ingrained with me and other UT teammates and guys that I knew from the Southeastern Conference that I, befriended off the court, that many people had considered leaving. You just never would, because you were taught to toughen it out, see the big picture, the long-term effect of staying with the program, of earning your degree, after 4 years. And boy, how has time changed.
And at the time, you would have to sit out a year.
Yes.
And that was sort of a deterrent to the whole thing. Mark, I look now, and obviously the old school part of me does not like what's going on with the transfer portal. I think the thing has turned into a total joke. I get that kids make decisions and need to make a change. I'm not questioning that. What I am questioning are these deals where, JT Daniels, if you're listening, 4 transfers in 4 years. That's absurd. And to me, somebody with some sanity has got to step in and put some sort of parameters around the transfer portal to make it more fair for everybody. Because right now, if a coach yells at a player in practice, the player has now the opportunity to give him that look saying, screw you, by 4:30 today, my name will be in that portal.
It's a valid point, George. And you got to look at the big picture from the coaching perspective too, because, you know, the coaches for each respective school are putting together their upcoming roster for the year. And even now looking at end of season of what's coming back next year and their needs of players who are finishing up their eligibility. And then you throw transfers in, maybe most of them unexpected, some of them, George, forced out. Then you got to start recruiting once again in this time period where, if you think back in the day, George, this is when college coaches were spending all their time at the Final Four and just kind of kicking back or playing golf and taking a little time off. Well, that little short time period is gone now because they're working the phones, re-recruiting some kids, trying to establish relationship with new kids based on the portal. But it's got to be a very stressful situation for the coaching staff to try to put together not only the most formidable team, but to put together players that are going to blend. And you're just not going to know how guys are going to blend in. And then how much time do you have to do research to really truly find out why they're leaving? Who are you going to believe? You know, is the college coach going to tell you? Is it going to be family members? Is a student athlete going to be honest about why they're leaving a program? So there's a lot of questions and concerns that go on around the portal other than just looking online and saying, well, here's another kid in the portal.
Okay, let's try a couple of things. And in a minute, we're going to show you what the entire SEC transfer portal numbers look like. Okay, no, we're not.
Wasn't able to get those up, George.
Okay, well, we'll rumble through them anyway.
Yeah, I can touch on it as well. So,
Mark, can you and I agree that if a player signs with a particular coach and that coach ends up leaving or gets fired, that player ought to have the right to take off?
No doubt. No doubt. I agree. And they can do that. The problem, George, is the 2-time transfer, which, just to, you know, kind of educate some of your followers, you need a waiver. This so-called waiver, which is not an efficient system in itself, and what goes into a waiver in a timely manner just to earn immediate eligibility. So the issues come not a 1-time transfer, but a 2-time transfer, which you touched on. So it gets more complicated and riskier for the coaches, because if they're looking at a 2-time transfer, there's no guarantee they're going to get accepted. Now, you hope that they do, and in time will maybe play out, but there's still risk involved.
Billy, what do you got over there?
Hunter Dickinson has entered the transfer portal from Michigan.
Bring him on. That kid is a great low post player.
Also yesterday, Mark, Olivier Kamwa entered the portal. So all of a sudden, we've got some madness in the portal.
Okay, so I'm going to throw some numbers out there just for all of you to sort of digest a little bit. Tennessee with Kamwa, that is their one right now in the portal. Kentucky
He's
has
a senior,
one.
so they thought he was out of the program anyway. So that's not a big loss staff-wise because they were already replacing him.
Kentucky has one. Mark, do you know who Kentucky's is?
Yes, Wheeler's. The will be a 2-time transfer, which, all honestly around him, I think that Kentucky was better off when he was hurt. Kentucky played much better. Not a big loss for Kentucky at all.
Florida has 5. Georgia has 1. Missouri has 1. Vandy has 5. South Carolina has 5. That's the East. In the West, Alabama with 1, Auburn 2, Ole Miss 3, Mississippi State with none. We congratulate the Bulldogs.
Yes.
LSU with 4, A&M with a couple, and Arkansas with nobody. So let's, Mark, would we also agree, if we're agreeing that a player has a right, if his coach that he signed with leaves, that gives them the automatic to do something if they desire? Would we also agree maybe that 2 is the most you can do? After 2, tough. You're stuck.
I think that'd be a great rule, George. And I'm sure that the higher ups within the NCAA, who we have no identity, who these individuals are that work there, that work on this side, should be having this conversation because it needs to be talked about. And I'll give you an example. One that I pulled up, a gentleman from Georgetown, Qudus Wuhab, originally signed with Georgetown, played there 2 seasons, transferred to Maryland, transferred again. Guess where he went? Back to Georgetown for a year. Guess where he's at now? Back in the transfer. It makes no sense that that's even allowed in my mind, that a kid can have that freedom to be able to keep bouncing around. And there just has to be more behind that. To me, that just raises a red flag. Yes, they had a coaching change at Georgetown, but you got to look at the chemistry, the camaraderie of your players, overall goals of going to a school in the first place. Not everybody's going to make the NBA, so you have to have a backup plan, and it really needs to be considered. So I really like your idea, George, about what you said about the 2-time transfer. Something's got to change.
Okay, let me ask this question, because you and I would not be 2 of the greatest minds in the world. People do not say, okay, there was Einstein and then there was George and Mark. So if the 2 of us can figure that out in the first 8 minutes of our first segment today together, we can come up with 2 rules that I think most everybody would agree with. Why, if we can figure that out, why can't they?
Head scratcher. I mean, there's so much about the NCAA that I don't understand and like to do further research. And I'm sure many of your followers as well as you, George, it's just perplexing to see how this organization's run and what it means to be a student athlete. I mean, to wear that jersey is a privilege. And any university you're representing more than yourself. I mean, you're representing your student athletes, you're representing the city, you're representing the state. There's so much involved, and it's just a shame that it's gotten to be where it is, where now the transfer portal is a common phrase now, especially in college basketball, that schools and coaches are going to now to fill holes for the future. It just boggles my mind.
So here are the coaches gathered down at the Final Four. And normally you and I know what goes on. But right now, it feels like they're baseball general managers. The Power 5 people are poaching the North Texases and the UABs and the group of 5. Now the group of 5 are looking to poach the Belmonts and the Lipscombs and the levels below. And Belmont and Lipscomb, not that I mean this personally, but that category is then poaching in AI or wherever they're poaching.
JUCO, sometimes
JUCO. So it's just one bad cycle after another after another. And I think what you've got as they sit around the bars having a couple of mint juleps tonight is one coach looking at another going, why the hell are we in this business?
Yeah. Well, you know what it does, George? It allows coaches to miss more on recruiting. And what I mean that as far as high school recruiting, you know, with the circuit being big with travel basketball and the live periods for coaches to go out and truly evaluate these high school kids. Yes, they know who the 5-star players are because that's published. It's easy to track down a 5-star and even a 4-star. But if you see and you look at the NCAA tournament now, how many of these guys are 5-star that are in the field at this point? Even 4-stars. There's so many 3-stars that have exceeded expectations that I think it allows coaches to miss more frequently, and then they can jump in later because they have a bigger number of games that they've been able to watch and slot them in based on expectations or what a coach's philosophy is, and just kind of put them in like a puzzle piece. So I really think it makes the coaches less accountable in a sense when they are recruiting, that they can miss more and make up later. And what's unfortunate, and you touched on this, is it starts from the top. Power 5 work their way down, and you just keep working your way down. So if you're a Belmont or Middle Tennessee, let's focus on the state of Tennessee, UT Chattanooga, and you've got a kid that you recruited, and you're like, this kid is a best kept secret, and he decides to come to your program and plays really well, maybe he's all conference, there's a good chance you're going to lose that kid. And you're going to lose them at a bad time of the recruiting period, because now you got to go fill the void of that kid that you lost. So you're always looking for the next player instead of really building players over the years, not just on the floor, but off the floor, which we haven't talked about. How's the culture fit for these players that are bouncing from one school to another? How much do you learn about your university and your fellow students that you're interacting with to build relationships for the future? I mean, where do you go for alumni events years from now when you've gone to 3 different schools, but maybe not even have graduated? I mean, there's so much to take into effect outside of scoring a basket.
Mark, last thing on this, because I'm hearing this from college coaches, that right now there are more high school players in their senior year getting ignored who have legitimate, whether it's D1 or D2 or somewhere in between ability, that are getting blown off because these coaches now are saying, screw this, I'm not in the development business anymore. I'm in the year to year. I'm doing it the way Calipari does it.
Right. Great point. And then add the COVID effect. The COVID year added a year. So you've got guys that could play up to 5. I mean, look at John Fulkerson. How many years did he play? 6 or 7? You look at redshirt year injury. So you've really, if you're a high school student coming through the last couple of years, you've been really at a disadvantage if you're not a high target kid. And how many of these high school players develop so much more in college? It's incredible. You were talking numbers. As of yesterday, there was over 1,100 D1 players in the portal. I mean, that is a crazy number. Last year, there was over 1,500. You have 60 days to go into the portal after the NCAA brackets have been revealed. That's right now. You look at 363 Division I teams, and you do the math, George, dividing a little over 1,100. That's an average of over 3 a team. So it's going to continue or even get worse in the future if nothing's done. So that goes once again supports my point that you're still having to re-recruit in a short time period to turn your roster over for the upcoming season.
Okay, after the break, we'll get out of the gloom and doom of the transfer portal, and we'll get into the fun of the Final Four. And if you have FAU and San Diego State, UConn and Miami is your Final Four, it's one of two things. You are either lying or you need to be going to Vegas and collecting a buttload of money. Stay tuned. We're coming back.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Welcome back. We're at First Horizon Park, which is the home of the Nashville Sounds, but not tonight. Their season opener has been postponed, and it's probably the right move. The forecast tonight in this area is awful with, some potentially really serious stuff moving in here from the west. That does not stop us, however, from talking Final Four with our buddy and former University of Tennessee basketball star, Mark Griffin, who joins us every Friday. Mark, we've all kind of been shaking our heads at Florida Atlantic. There's a part of me saying Memphis had them beat at one point. There's a part of me saying Tennessee had them beat at one point.
Yeah.
There's a part of me saying K-State was one possession away from burying them. Why are they never out of it? Why has nobody been able to drop the hammer on FAU?
That's a great question, George. And I go back to Coach May, and I think that what he's done in the time he's been at FAU is amazing, and the culmination of them getting to where they are and the way he treats his players with respect, and not only respect, but the way he seems to really give them the green light. And his body language, you know, we talk a lot about body language of players. We don't talk a lot about body language of coaches and how they respond on the sideline, unless it's in a manner that, to me, takes away from the flow of the game. When, you know, I think of Coach Calipari and his antics, or Tom Crean when he was pacing the floor, walking 5 miles a game, which drove me nuts. But when you look at Coach May, it's like he is that teacher observing his pupils, and he's in agreement with what they're carrying out, and he is pleased. I'm sure he disciplines his guys, readjust game plan during timeouts, because you know, players need to be disciplined. But when you've got your coach behind you and knows your strengths, and you're able to maximize those strengths, knowing that, yes, they may not have been the biggest name team coming out, but these guys believe in each other. And we talk about chemistry even earlier. Obviously, they have great chemistry where they believe in each other, and they've got each other's back. And when you keep having these positive results over and over, and these close wins, as you mentioned, you really do believe that you're not going to lose. And you're really focused on playing to win as opposed to not to lose, which is a difference. It's a mindset. And I think Coach May's just done a great job with the mental aspect of the game for these student athletes.
Deep down, I don't believe FAU wins the national title. I don't. And most people deep down don't. But I had a friend say this to me earlier today, that if they did pull it off, it would be the biggest little guy win since Texas Western beat Kentucky. And of course, we know the movie that was made. It's now UTEP. But back then it was Texas Western. Would you buy that it would be the biggest since then?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Matter of fact, when you look at seeds, back in 1985, when Villanova won, they were the lowest seed to win a championship was an 8 seed. And FAU is a 9 seed now. So just adds to what you just mentioned as being one of the biggest upsets. And I think if you polled basketball fans now for who they're polling for overall, not looking at the odds as far as gambling, but just who they're polling for, I think, you know, a lot of us pull for underdogs. And when my teams are out, I'm pulling for the underdog. I am pulling for FAU to make it to the finals, but that's where it stops. I'm not pulling for them to win the championship, George. I would like to see a all Florida event with Miami and FAU, but I'm definitely going to be cheering for FAU against San Diego State. I think it's a great matchup. I think it's going to be a great game, and I think FAU may get down again, but they're going back to mindset. They've done this before. They felt what it's like to be down to fight back. And that just goes a lot to the mental capacity and knowing that you can flip a switch.
Mark, I've always believed that coaches in these settings sort of have to strike while the iron is hot. Do you think FAU's long run that now has extended into the Final Four may have cost Dusty May the chance to go to a bigger name?
Well, I mean, obviously, he just signed an extension, I believe, George. But
right,
as
he
you
did.
know, yeah, contracts can be broken. That's not a big deal. Timing's everything. We could pick out, since you know so many of these college coaches, current and past coaches, who were hot and then overdid their stay, or flip side, some people leave and then not have the success that they're searching for at another program. I think it's a timing issue. When you look at jobs that are out there now, George, because of their success, you're right. I mean, there's not a lot. I can't think of any job that is attractive for him even now. That's a huge upgrade, fan base, facility-wise, or financial. So what he'll do is ride this wave and build on his success for next season, become more seasoned as a coach. People are going to answer the phone now that didn't, as far as student athletes, because he's a name, he's a brand. They have a nice brand of basketball, and it really resembles travel basketball. This 5-out style, which means you have 5 players outside the perimeter or the three-point line, that's very typical of travel basketball. So he's going to have his way with landing prospects moving forward.
Give me your thoughts on this. It feels like UConn is the best team left. And last Saturday night, they trashed Gonzaga.
Wow.
And as Mark Few, rode back on an airplane back to the Seattle area, does he have to ask himself the question, okay, we're really good, and we've got this gaudy streak of appearances, but we've never knocked the door down, and we've given these cynical you-know-whats like me the opportunity to say, yeah, whatever, it's time to win one. And I'm cynical enough to say that I don't think they play the level of defense that everybody else plays, and that's why they never win it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true? And do you think Few knows that?
I do, George. I think he knows it, but he's not going to admit it, because these coaches aren't going to admit flaws in their program that they're leading. I think Gonzaga is going to be a consistent team year in and year out to reach the tournament, to advance a couple of rounds. But as what's been proven over the years, when are they going to get to the Final Four, in a sense, to be a contender? I don't see that happening, because if it was going to happen, I think they had a really good shot this year. When you start at the beginning of the tournament looking forward, obviously didn't play out that way, but I'm a big fan of Timmy, and it just didn't work out. And they had several, highly touted players, several 5-star players, couple of big transfers. With the kid from Chattanooga was Conference Player of the Year that transferred. I mean, they had a great team, but who do they play throughout the season? I know that you go to, George. When you're playing weaker opponents, I feel you have a tendency to play down your competition. And once again, people don't like to admit this, but I'll admit it because I don't play anymore. But we're playing Kentucky versus Ohio University. We're not as excited about playing Ohio University. And guess what? We got upset by Ohio University. They ended up having 2 NBA players, Dave Jamerson and Snoopy Graham. But we didn't know that going in. We're just looking at a name on a jersey and going, we're going to inflate our stats. It happens. And I think that when they're in conference play, they're dominating so much, but how much are they getting better by playing the opponents that they do? I mean, I look at someone like Kelly Harper from the Lady Vols at UT, played an inflated schedule, and yes, lost many games. But when you're up against that top competition, you really get an idea of where you got to go to get at that level and be a champion. And I just don't think that Gonzaga, in my mind, I don't think in my time I'm going to see them or him win a championship.
Okay, last thing before we kind of pick the winner. It's easy to say UConn, they look like the best team. But, Mark, is it possible that Miami gives them such a battle Saturday night that whoever comes out of that match then has to get back up 2 nights later for either San Diego State or FAU, and that game one's winner might sneak into the championship because Miami and UConn just beat the hell out of each other?
Yeah. It's that Miami UConn is going to be a battle. And you're right. I don't know how you can recover in such a short period of time. Boy, they're going to be in that training room, hours upon hours, and definitely trying to get the most rest that one can with all the distractions that you have with family, friends, social media. I mean, you just, the coaches want to minimize all of this stuff that they can, but through the powers of the NCAA, once again, you have media obligations, and it takes away from downtime. And I think you're going to see that, definitely going to see that with these programs this weekend and moving into Monday. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm actually going on the limb, George, and I'm going to pick Miami. I just have that gut feeling.
Really?
I really do. And I know, I know what the spread is, but I saw how UConn played so great against Gonzaga, but I'm just such a fan of the moxie, that the way the Miami guards carry themselves. I'm a huge fan of Isaiah Wong and Nigel Pack. I think they complement each other really well. If you need a bucket, you've got 2 guys that can get a bucket. I think they're going to lock down Jordan Hawkins, the best that anyone has so far, because of, especially with Isaiah, he's 6'4", and Jordan Hawkins, just give you a little perspective, is 6'5". Great shooter. I mean, fantastic. I think the coach of Miami is going to apply more pressure to him and try to limit the amount of the time that he has the ball in his hands. I feel that's going to be a strategy, and I think it should be a strategy. Why would you give this guy the opportunity to make plays? You try to take it out of his hands, and you force someone else to beat you. And if someone else beats you, then you didn't deserve to win in the first place. But I think that they're going to try to lock him down. And I just think, to me, I think Miami is just going to play better than UConn and just overall tougher than UConn. Maybe I'm wrong. That's just my gut, George.
Yeah, interesting. Mark, first of all, have thoroughly enjoyed a year of talking hoops with you. I'm sure that we'll probably figure out something for next week before we call it a year. But thank you, as always, for all the prep and all the great perspectives. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks to you guys for having me. It's been so much fun, and what a great season. And like I said, it's kind of depressing ending, but man, what a build up for the weekend. And a lot of people are on the edge of their seat, can't wait for the matchups. It's going to be fun. So let's just sit back and enjoy basketball.
One shining moment. Mark, thank you as always.
Thank you, George.
Mark Griffin, former University of Tennessee basketball star, later a coach at his alma mater, joining us on the show. After the break, we'll have Stat of the Day, and then Coach Herm Edwards will join us. As you can see in the background, especially if I get out of the way, that's the guitar scoreboard. This is First Horizon Park. There will be no baseball tonight. The Sounds made the decision early, and I think it was the right one. They'll play a doubleheader tomorrow, pair of 7-inning games with the first game starting at 5:05 and the gates opening around 4 o'clock. Stay tuned. Stat of the day is coming up next.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports, and then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in. Got a phone.
Music doesn't want to stop, does it, Billy? Sounds like we've lost Billy. So, David.
Now I'm back.
You're back. What
Sorry,
happened?
George. I was turning the wrong knob.
There are a lot of knobs over there.
Yeah, I was turning the wrong knob. My bad.
Can you show people all that stuff?
I mean, they see it in the camera a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
show them what you're dealing with. Because
he was bragging earlier, saying nobody else could do his job, and even then he couldn't do it right.
I did hear that. You're right. I did hear that.
We got stat of the day brought to you by John English.
Wow,
Antique.
he just sort of brushed through that one, didn't he?
We'll get to that a little bit later. But
Okay.
we got a stat of the day to get to. It's
Do
brought
we?
to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards. You can find them out in Shelbyville at 204 East Depot Street, or give them a call at 931-492-4304. All right, George, let's check out what we got for today for stat of the day. There it is. We're going baseball. So you should have the upper hand here on no one else. No one else is going to be helping you on this one.
No, it's a solo job.
No Watson today. But, George, here's what we got. Yesterday, Cardinals outfielder Jordan Walker made his MLB debut on opening day at 20 years old. Since 2010, there have been 5 other players aged 21 or younger to start on opening day. Can you name them?
Wait a minute. Say that again.
Cardinals outfielder Jordan Walker made his debut at 20 years old. Since 2010, there have been 5 other players aged 21 or younger to start on opening day. Can you name them?
Okay. Are you saying made their debut or simply started?
Simply to start.
Okay.
On opening day.
Would Ronald Acuna be one of them?
That is incorrect.
Oh, we're going to struggle with this one.
There is another Brave, however, and I think you know.
Can you sort of repeat this whole thing?
Okay, so Jordan Walker of the Cardinals made his MLB debut at 20 years old. Since 2010, there have been 5 other players aged 21 or younger to start on opening day. Can you name them?
Okay, Jason Hayward.
Correct.
Okay. Now this is where we're going to struggle because
the other ones are big name players. I don't know if that gives it away.
Big name players. Guys with Herm almost ready to go.
Go tap out. Come on.
Yeah, I've got to because there's nothing coming to me at all.
Come on, George.
There really isn't.
2 of them are from the Braves division.
He's already got Hayward, right?
Correct.
Okay, he's got 1. You got 4 left.
Oh, I mean, we could be here till midnight.
I'm going to go ahead and show it, George.
Is one of them the kid from the Mariners a year ago?
No. You ready?
Okay, go ahead and show me.
Okay. Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, and Juan Soto.
Man.
Pretty good list right there.
Boy. So Harper was a Nat, got away. Juan Soto was a Nat and got away.
Mm-hmm.
Machado was an Oriole.
Yeah.
Got away.
Man,
I hate to
those
say
are
it.
all pretty recent. Wow.
I hate to say it. There's some dogs in that list.
A little bit. Machado.
Yeah.
Tatis.
Harper
Maybe.
at times has been. That would not.
Besides Hayward, those are some of the highest paid players in baseball.
Yeah. Yeah. And Hayward bombed.
Yeah.
He really did. And I don't think anybody saw that coming.
He had arguably one of the best first years of a rookie.
Yes.
He had more hype than Freddie Freeman.
Opening day homer against
Carlos Zambrano.
Carlos Zambrano.
Oh, the
That's
Cubs,
right.
yeah.
Of the Cubs. Yeah.
Feels like forever ago.
Does this mean we are officially into the 3 o'clock hour?
Yes, it does.
And that means that we head out somewhere on the West Coast. Well, now I know where we head, to the home of the great Herm Edwards, who joins us for his weekly Friday visit. So, Herm, I want you to see this.
Okay.
We are at the home of the Nashville Sounds. As I get out of the way, that is a guitar scoreboard.
Wow.
How about that?
That's interesting.
Yes, isn't it though?
Great music in Nashville. No doubt about that.
Right. And you've been here before.
Yes.
Several times.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot to talk about, and I'm going to start with the obvious. So Lamar Jackson gives us earlier this week I asked for a trade at the beginning of the month. And I think all of us are saying, okay, wait a minute, this brings a new dynamic into this. For you, what did it say?
Oh, that it is no longer a stormy romance. It is a breakup. And if you're the Ravens, if that is the course they're going to head, and that's the road they choose to travel, they have just taken themselves out of the playoff picture, because now they're in dire need of a quarterback. And I don't know who you're going to get at this point in time. You have to draft a guy, I would assume. But they're no longer a playoff team if Lamar Jackson leaves this organization, or if he doesn't play. How about that? How about if he sits out?
Isn't it harder to do this, though, in football, where your life expectancy as a pro player is so much smaller, say, than baseball?
No doubt, but he's still a young player. He's not an older player. This is his second contract. This is his biggest, your second contract is generally your biggest bite of the apple in the NFL. Your first 4 years, they're going to pay what they pay. If you're a first-round pick, that's great. But when you get to your second deal, that is your big deal. And generally, you're about 25, 26 years old. So just do the math. I mean, these quarterbacks in today's world, they play 10, 12 years if they're good players now. The life expectancy of his legs maybe aren't that long. The guys that are coming in as runners, they learn how to play in the pocket when they get older.
They sure do. So I want to test out a strategy with you and see what you think. I don't know John Harbaugh. I've never met him. His dad and I are pretty close, and his dad is a wonderful man, as you know, Jack Harbaugh. But it seems to me that John has sort of stayed out of this, and to the point where this week, he's spouting off the, we'll be excited when he comes. And the reporters are like, have you read this tweet? And he didn't even know it. Isn't it time for John Harbaugh to get more active? Because it seems to me he's the only thing left that could salvage this.
Well, I think he handled the press conference very well, getting a tweet at the same time. Lamar tweets it out. He's probably watching the press conference and says, okay, coach, getting ready to sit down. I'm going to tweet this out so he can deal with this question, right? And I thought he handled it in the correct manner. He's sitting in a hard spot, though. You're the head coach, and you want your quarterback. There's no doubt about that. But the compensation of what the quarterback wants, obviously, is a sticking point for this organization. And rightly, most of the organizations in the National Football League, 99.9% of them do not want to give full guaranteed contracts. And that's just not how they do business in the National Football League. And it was that way when I entered in 1977.
I'm guessing you've asked yourself this question, or somebody or bodies has asked you. You were once a head coach in the NFL. Well, you were twice a head coach in the NFL. And if you took Harbaugh out of the picture and Herm Edwards was the head coach here, how do you think you would have handled this?
Well, I don't know what coach has done in the background of it all, but I think, especially in the National Football League, at any level, you and the quarterback are tied to the hip when you really think about it. And your relationship with him is probably going to be a little bit different than your relationship with other players. And I think he's got a good relationship with Lamar, obviously. And it's just sad that it's gotten to this, where, he's requested a trade. I thought that maybe he might hold out and they'll eventually get it worked out. But now, even a trade, if you're another team, you're thinking, okay, if we trade for him, what is the compensation? What are they going to want? Well, let's just say they want 2 first-round picks. Okay. Is he worth that if you're a team like Houston or, whatever, a team similar to that, Yeah, but then you got to pay him too. And so owners and GMs are looking at this and going, well, wait a minute now, we'll give up 2 picks. And then on top of that, we got to pay him. And we got to pay him, he wants a fully guaranteed contract. So that becomes a little bit of a sticking point.
I'm going to shift it to something that I want to act like I know, but the truth of it is You know, and I really don't, because my pro football career ended in 5th grade in something called Gray Y.
Yeah.
Herm, I've been down there on a sideline during a game. The physicality is unbelievable. And here's the NFL, in my opinion, trying to squeeze the last dollar out humanly possible. And they're talking this week about flexing out the Thursday night Amazon Prime games. And I get why they're doing it. Amazon got stuck with some duds, and they're trying to throw them a bone. But isn't this where the players really have to rise up and start to say, you all have no clue what it's like to play on a Sunday, get beat all to death, and then you want us back on a plane Wednesday to play a Thursday game?
Yeah, that's a tough turnaround. And also for your fan base, right? Your fan base that's obviously thinking you were having a game and all of a sudden they switch it on them. Now you got fans, maybe fans are traveling in from somewhere. They're going to pick their only game. It's almost like going to the NBA game, right? You want to go see this star, and it happens to be the 5th game of a road game, and guess what? He ain't playing, right? He's standing over there with the coach. Now the NFL is talking about doing something like that. It affects the players. There's no doubt about that. It affects the fan base. But here's the caveat. They're giving them, you're going to get 2 weeks notice. Now, is that good or not? I don't know. But, they're kind of giving you that breadcrumb. We're going to let you know way in ahead. But still, it makes it difficult. And coaches don't like it. Because it cuts out your practice time. It cuts out your preparation time. Now, players like it, and the fact that, when you got a shorter week, you're not practicing as much. And anymore, when the season starts, after about the 4th game, practice has changed over the years now. And players can deal with it, but it's just another deal that, puts pressure on players to perform in a short week. And that's always a tough turnaround for guys.
This is an area, I guess, Herm, I'm surprised that the players union, when the whole concept of a 17th game came up and the players fought it.
Yeah.
But to me, I would have fought it where it couldn't happen. And I'm surprised they didn't.
Well, look, I'll give you this one. I entered the league in 1977. There was only 28 teams. We played 6 preseason games and 14 regular. Think about that. We played 6 preseason games. So people say we played 6. Yeah. So not only did we play 6, we were in training camp for almost 2 months. Right. So it's gone from there to where it's at now. Not surprising. Not surprising at all. That we went to 6, then it went to 4, and now it's 2, and they add another game. There's a reason that these owners are billionaires. I'm going to say it again. Billionaires. They got the golden goose. They got television. They got it all. I mean, the Washington Commanders are going to sell for $6 billion. Billion. It's like, are you kidding me? And the greatest thing the owners ever came up with, because they're all going to this thing together. But some owners really, if you didn't put a cap on it, they would spend as much money as they want. Other owners love the cap because they know I only have to pay the players this amount of money, and the rest of it belongs to me. Oh, it's a great life to be an owner.
Here's the scary part. It's the most dysfunctional group in the history of dysfunction. And it's still getting $6 billion. Imagine if they'd been well run.
It's just unbelievable. I mean, I look at it and I go, wow. Kind of when I came in the league from 77 to right now, and you can imagine the guys that were in the league before me in the 60s and the 50s. They're looking at this. I'm looking at it going, this is just astronomical. And I'm happy for the players, and I'm happy for the league. And it goes to show you what TV and all these things to generate revenue for these owners and for football, and how football basically has taken over our country. It is an America's pastimes game now. Football is the game. And you know, baseball just started, right? And I can remember growing up being a baseball guy. Baseball was the deal when I grew up. It was baseball. Football was like, it was kind of okay, but baseball was the deal. No. I mean, think about how many leagues they've started. How many pro football leagues they've started, and they don't last very long, and they end, and you think, well, we're done with that. No, they got another league again. It's just unbelievable.
So the guys you work with,
yes,
as you probably know, had a field day over Belichick's answer to the question that, you know, why should a Patriots fan be excited? And you could see the wheels spinning in his head, and then he's like, 25 years, pretty damn good track record.
Yeah, it really is, and he's going to go down as one of the best coaches ever to coach a game of football. But this is where the media is at, right? And you know, some of his former players were saying, well, why did he say that? You know, because it was always, and that's how Bill is. It's never about what you did yesterday. It's about what you're going to do today. And I just think he's in one of those moods. You know, he's down there, and the guy that asked him actually works for ESPN, and he covers them, and did a great question. And Bill's just kind of, you could just kind of tell he was almost looking at the guy like, are you asking me that? Really? Reese, he looking at him like, man, you cover the team. Are you asking me that question? Really? And he comes off with, well, your last 25 years. And then, you know, all of a sudden the worldwide leader gets a hold of it. And they used it for about 3 or 4 days. It was crazy, right?
Oh, they had a field day.
Right. And then Bill has to come back and kind of, you know, look, hey, you know, I want to tell our fan base, look, all I know is this. Those fans have been spoiled.
You think?
Bottom line, they've been spoiled. They've been just spoiled. And, you know, and he says something like that, and people get upset. And look, you know, I know Bill. Look, it's just Bill. He gets it. He's always about the next day. How do you get better the next day, right? And that's why the guy's been so successful with teams. Is he hard to play for? Some players say he's hard to play for because, you know, he believes in doing things a certain way. And it was just funny how this thing just blew up.
So leave me with this. Let's play Nostradamus here.
Okay.
What's the next big move coming in this offseason, in your opinion?
The next big move.
Aaron comes out of the cave.
Well, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens in Washington. Who ends up buying this team, right? There's going to be new owners. It kind of sounds like it, you know. And how does it go down? How does that shake loose? That's a big deal.
Sure is.
Right? I mean, you know, these owners are not like, hey, we don't just sell our teams. I mean, no. This ain't, you know, we ain't selling some used tires here. This is a $6 billion football team that somebody's going to buy.
That's B as in Billy.
Yeah. You know, and Ron Rivera, who's the head coach, you know, he grew up right down the street from me. And it'll be interesting to see who buys the team and what direction they go.
That was a good answer. It will be interesting to see. Because
really,
there are a lot of people in Washington going, thank God.
Well, there's enough going in Washington. They need to just be careful. Don't worry about the football team. We got some other stuff going in Washington where you look at it and go, really, man? Come on, guys. I watch these guys sometimes and they can't figure. They can't go. I mean, unbelievable. Some of the arguments they get to.
We'll save that for next week.
Yeah, we'll leave that politics alone. Let's just make it easy.
Hey,
thank you. One thing, Aaron Rodgers won't be with the Jets yet. And Lamar Jackson will still be like, okay, what are they going to do with Lamar Jackson, right? I mean, we started talking about Aaron Rodgers a month and a half ago. And now he's blaming it on the Packers. Well, what do you think the Packers are going to do? Just let you go? Just make it easy for you? You've not made it easy for them the last 3 years.
Oh, you got that right.
So now you're going to make them suffer a little bit, right? Okay.
What goes around comes around.
I love it. I love it. It's great stuff.
Hey, thank you as always.
All right, partner. You guys have
a good weekend.
All right.
He is the great Herm Edwards, and we are fortunate to have him every Friday on the show. So as all of you know, and I'll get out of the way again so you can see the guitar scoreboard. As all of you know, this is First Horizon Park, which is the home of the Nashville Sounds. They were scheduled to open their season tonight. The weather forecast is awful. They've made what I think is the right decision. Postponed tonight. Doubleheader tomorrow, a pair of 7-inning games. 5:05 for the opener, and 4 o'clock the gates will open. After the break, we will meet the Sounds play-by-play voice, Jeff Hem, and I'll let you in on a little clue. This is a major league talent. He is. And if you've heard him, you already know that. If not, we'll talk about it after the break. But first, let's get to that magic number. 45 million of you will bet over the weekend on the NCAA Final Four. That is a staggering number. But you know what? If you're going to do that, do it through the folks at Action 24/7 and use the promo code George. I love it. I got a promo code. And get a 300% deposit match up to $20 on your first deposit. Action 24/7 is Tennessee's only locally owned and operated sports book. And I say that for a reason. These are Tennesseans. These are people that live in and around you. They want to be good neighbors. If you have a question, you have a dispute over a game, call them. They'll return your phone call. That's what's different, and that's what's good about them. So download the app or visit action247.com to start all that winning, and please bet responsibly.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
We are back here at First Horizon Park. This is Jeff Hem. He's the play-by-play voice of the Nashville Sounds. And I'll tell you right off the bat, this is a major league talent on the minor league level right now. And how many years has it been here?
Since 2012. So this will be, I guess you don't count 2020. There was no season. 11 years now, 11 seasons with the Sounds.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well,
I don't have any cash to give you for all these great compliments, but I appreciate it nonetheless, George.
Well, I've felt this way. You and I talked years ago. When I started hearing you, I was like, wow, this guy has got some real ability. But you're also in an industry where these guys above you never give up these jobs because they are like gold.
Yeah. Well, and there's no shortage of people who want those jobs. I mean, I'm one of many around. I mean, there is a lot of talent, I think, calling games at the minor league level. It's kind of like it is for some of the Sounds trying to get to Milwaukee or wherever.
Sure.
There's just not room for everybody. It's hard to get there. It's a numbers game. I am so fortunate to be with the Sounds, to be in this city and in this market. We've got the best situation, I think, in all the minor leagues when you combine ballpark, the culture of our staff here, who I get to work with and be around. I am so fortunate. I can think back to some jobs over the years I went after and didn't get around the minors, and now I'm like, that was a blessing in disguise. So I love it here. So yeah, we all have our own career aspirations of some sort, but this is a wonderful spot to be, and we're looking forward to a great season, and I love what I do.
You and I both know a former Sounds announcer who was, like you, a major league talent in Bob Jameson.
Yep.
He was my teacher when I was in college. I know I drove him absolutely crazy, but he had the patience of Job to put up with me. He eventually ended up working with the then California Angels for a couple of years. I've never asked him this question, but I'm going to ask it to you. On the minor league level, how many major league quality broadcasters do you think there are?
A lot. I mean, if we got 30 AAA teams, I mean, I think all of my brethren could do it at the major league level. That and again, I'll draw a parallel to the players who are going to play for the Sounds this year. By the end of it, or by the end of their career, on average, about 3/4 of a Sounds roster has either already been to the big leagues or will get there. Maybe for a day, maybe for 5 years, we don't know, but they'll get there. If you've gotten as far as AAA, your odds are pretty good that you're going to play in the big leagues. And I would say the vast majority of guys calling games around the minor leagues are good enough to do it at the major league level. Like I said, it's hard to get there, and you've got to love where your feet are. And that's why I truly am just so happy to be where I am. There are places around the minor league world where it's like, oh my gosh, where can I go from here? I got to get out of this town or this ballpark or this operation or whatever. That is not that way here in Nashville. It's just such a great situation.
Now, I don't know if these guys across from us have heard this story. I've told it on the air several times. I was on vacation in Las Vegas, and I am walking through the Mirage Hotel, and there's an area that is a big race and sports book area. And the TV, the biggest of the TVs in that thing is bigger than this suite. It's humongous. And they've got the volume up, and I'm walking through this, and I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on a second. That's Jeff Him. What is he doing an Oakland A's game in Comiskey? And I don't think it took me very long to get a hold of you. I don't remember if I texted you while it was happening.
I think you did.
Okay. Tell the story, how this all played out.
Well, the Sounds were an A's affiliate from 2015 through 2018. And so, sometimes it works this way, sometimes it doesn't, but there are major league opportunities on occasion filling in for whatever reason. And some teams more than others, the A's are great about, and still are great about this, reaching down to their minor league level. One of the regular A's radio announcers, Vince Cotroneo, knew weeks in advance that he was going to have to miss an A's game for a funeral or a memorial service for a loved one of his. So the A's reached out and they asked if I was interested in filling in. Answered their question before they'd finished the question with a resounding yes.
It's like when the game show host says, "Can you come back tomorrow?" By the way, there's 50 grand on the line.
Right.
You never hear one of them say,
Yes.
"Well, I've got to get my hair cut, so I don't think so."
Yeah, it's like I might be interested in that. Gee, I don't know. So it was
how quick. Can I
that's
get
right.
there?
It was early June of 2018. They reached out. I did a game. I did one day in the big leagues for them, and later in June of 2018. What I remember about it though is the day before the game got rained out. So I lucked my way into the only baseball doubleheader I've ever been truly happy about. I got 2 for the price of 1 at the big league level with the A's. They happened to be playing the White Sox in my home area of Chicago, which was an added, thrill of the whole experience. But so that's why you saw me walking through that sports book.
Sure did.
I was on radio for the A's, but they were generous enough to just do a quick little shot of the radio booth where I was working with Ken Korak, and they showed it on A's television. And that's where a guy like George Plaster in the Mirage in Vegas is seeing my face for radio on a television.
Okay, a lot of people dream of sitting in a booth and doing this and going looping line drive, base hit, left center. But there's also game 1 of a doubleheader that goes 13 innings.
Right.
What is the worst of those you've ever experienced?
Well, before I got to Nashville, I called games at the single-A level for a team called the Kane County Cougars. My home area is suburban Chicago. That was sort of my hometown team. Lucked into getting that job. We're playing in Peoria. I want to say it was 2007, April in Peoria, Illinois. It wasn't single-digit temperatures, George, but it felt that way.
Might as well have been.
So we're playing a doubleheader, 2 7-inning games, no big deal. Game 1 goes 17 innings. Well, this is long before start the runner at second base in an extra inning game. This could have been Exhibit A of why you should create that rule. But Game 1 went 17, so Game 2 still has to happen. Called 24 innings of that doubleheader.
Oh my God!
Signing off on the post-game show, I want to say close to like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, what if I just said a word I shouldn't say just to see if anybody's listening? Yeah, just to see if it gets a reaction. I didn't do that, but right. I had that thought. Like, who is listening right now? It is 12:45 in the morning Central Time, Game 2 of a Class A doubleheader. The perks of the job, George. Perks of the job.
Okay, I'll do it a different way that you would want to say. Let's pause 10 seconds for stations to identify themselves. If there's anybody out there at 1 a.m, what are you doing?
I wanted to do the Bob Uecker in Major League. Nobody's listening. The post-game show brought to you by, I can't find it. So I didn't do that, but I had that thought.
Who do you think you have tailored your style after?
Oh man, you know this as well as anybody. This you can't copy guys. You don't want to copy guys, but you want to take little bits and pieces of people in the industry and then make it your own. Yeah. So I hope I sound like me as far as my personality goes, but we all have, people that help mold us and that we respect. And I like the way he said that, or I like the way this guy calls a big moment, and sort of subconsciously you're trying to adapt that into your call. So, I think Ken Korak with the Oakland A's, who I got to work with when I filled in the game we were talking about. I think Pat Hughes with the Cubs. I think John Miller with the Giants. Those are 3 right there. Obviously, Vin Scully is the best who's ever done it. Vin had a very unique tenor and pace, and you got to be very careful if you're trying to take anything from Vin Scully, because you can very quickly sound like you're trying to copy him. So
nobody can do his style.
There are so many good big league announcers. I think Scott Fransky with the Phillies, who was in Kane County back in the day and has been a help to me in kind of a mentor role. So there are so many good. You talk about why aren't minor league guys getting to the big leagues? They're all really good at the major league level too, and you can learn something from all of them. The other thing I like to do is pop into the visitors booth, my own colleagues, and look like, how do they score the game?
Mm-hmm.
What's their setup? Do they use a mic or a headset? And where do they kind of set up mission control when they're calling a game. I like to do that for football too. What's the guy's spotting board look like? How do they note little things along the way to pick up, things that are going to make you better, that nobody's ever going to know that you're doing it because you're not seeing that on the air or hearing that on the air. But the little things that can make a difference in how you present the game, you're always trying to pull little things like that.
I did that exact thing years ago when I was Vandy's color announcer in basketball, and I'm in my 20s and I'm trying to learn. And David Steele, who is now the play-by-play voice of the Orlando Magic, I asked if I could sit in on his broadcast at the SEC tournament. He was gracious enough to let me see his stuff, and I wanted to see, okay, I know how I do a score sheet. Show me how you do yours. Do you ever run into a scenario where your score sheet gives you trouble?
Yep.
Those are the kind of things you and I look for.
The broadcaster nerd in us loves that stuff, but it's true. Like every time you look at somebody else's scorebook or board or something, you're like, oh, that's a good idea. Or, oh, that wouldn't work for me because I like to do A, B, or C, whatever it is. You're always learning. I think one of the best in our industry is Kevin Harlan, regardless of sport, regardless of radio or TV. And part of that is because I've heard him do interview after interview where he's got this long checklist after a game where he self-analyzes how he called that game. Did I do this? Did I do this? I mean, this is a guy who's been doing it for 4 decades. He is as good as it gets, and yet he is hard on himself. And after every single game, he's thinking, all right, how can I get better for the next one? He's not mailing anything in. And, I'm never going to be a Kevin Harlan, but I want that mentality of trying to get better. And I think a lot of us in the industry follow sort of that goal, that path to just try to get better, regardless of what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Jeff, throughout the year, you're going to join us pretty much on a weekly basis at some point to talk about the team, and we'll get more into the team in the future. I've always told young broadcasters that in my play-by-play life that there were times, and I can remember doing this one night in Detroit. I'm about to do an NCAA tournament game between Vandy and Xavier. And I remember kind of stopping and saying, hold on here. Remember that when you were in college, you would have given anything to sit in this seat and get paid to watch this game. Do you ever have that feeling?
No doubt. All the time. I have that feeling in any game that I'm calling. It's just, this is broadcasting and play-by-play is one of those jobs, and no matter how much work it takes, and it takes a lot of work, and in a lot of ways, it still is a job. You tell someone that that's what you do, and invariably they're like, wow,
isn't that cool?
Yeah, and a lot of times it is. We all have our kind of Groundhog Day type days in any career, but there are plenty of moments where you're like, all right, I got to stop for a second. I'm at a ballpark. I'm about to call a game and get paid to do it, and that's a pretty special thing. And you're right. I do try to not lose sight of that. I think it's such a competitive business. There are so many talented people in this industry. I mean, there are guys graduating from college who've got a full-on demo together. They were at their TV station in college, and they, for 4 years, were practicing play-by-play. I didn't realize I wanted to do play-by-play until early in my senior year of college. So,
really?
Yeah. So, I mean, you think about, like, baseball players will tell you, well, there's always somebody at AA coming for my job. There's always more coming. There is no shortage of young announcers who are trying to move up. So the minute you take it for granted, or you take the foot off the pedal, or you start to mail it in, or you start to get complacent, it'll show, like a lot of industries. I think guys on the field have that same feeling when they're playing it. I have that feeling when I'm calling it.
It's really interesting you say that, because when I was coming out of school in the early 80s, I don't think there was anywhere near the level of competition of how many kids want to do this. For me, I thought there were 3 of us: Joe Fisher, Chip Walters, me.
Wow, what a trio that is. No, I'm serious. You're laughing like I'm pulling your leg. That's 3 amazing announcers. I'm serious.
And we've, the 3 of us have talked about this. Now you look around, and I thought I had my, I was I thought I had my stuff together.
Yeah.
I've learned otherwise.
I know.
But, back then, I got 2 years of minor league baseball experience in college. Now you look around and you're right. A lot of these kids have got demo tapes where they look like, major league sports anchors, and they're being trained way better than we were.
Yeah, and I think there is still, in my mind, there is still a paying of the dues in the industry, and I think the instant gratification sometimes, you're out of college, you think you're ready to call Game 7 of the World Series. It's not a bad idea to have that goal or that mentality, but you got to realize that's the quick risers are few and far between. There is a little bit of dues paying in the industry to work your way up, but you're right. I mean, young people today know earlier. I feel like that this is what they want to do, and they're prepared earlier. They're better than we were when we were their age. I listened to their demos. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to tell him how good he is because he's coming for my job, and this kid's pretty good. I'm going to step up my game.
Yeah, it's an amazing business, this whole sports broadcasting world. And I know you're the same way. When you speak to groups, the thought that comes out is, for me, I got to spend 40 years in the toy department of life.
Yeah. Yep.
Same way.
I agree. There's a lot of work involved. I think a lot of people on their armchair at home think, I could have called that game better than Jim Nance. Wait till I say, here's a headset and try it. Not that
that guy starts talking.
Right. Not that we're, curing cancer or building roofs or anything, but there is work involved in the preparation of it. But at the end of the day, you have to step back and aerial view, realize what we're doing is kid in a candy store kind of
child's
stuff.
play.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Absolutely.
But we're good at child's play.
Absolutely. I picked the right industry. I don't want a real job.
Jeff, thank you for coming over here. We'll actually get down and dirty with this team when they start playing in the weeks to come. Thanks,
buddy.
You as always.
Good seeing you as always. Thank you.
If you have not listened to this guy, tune him in. He's a major league announcer, and I believe that. Give me $1.
Yeah, I would if I could, if I had one.
Stay tuned. Plaster bet of the day. If you listen to this, you won't have one. That's coming up next.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service. Growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals, who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100.
Final segment on a Friday here at First Horizon Park. At the guitar scoreboard behind us as George moves away from it. I'm sure he will one more time to get a good view of it, but we'll see.
I really like showing that thing.
Yeah. George, we'll see if Jeff ends up taking your word on the bets of the day. That was a funny little joke there at the end with the dollar, but it is brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. They are lawyers you can trust. Give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com.
Hold on. Before you go anywhere, did you like that interview? Because that's right in your wheelhouse.
Oh, I thought it was good stuff. I really did. I thought when he talked about, some of the methods he has taken from other broadcasters, I thought the point he made about Vin Scully was good. I wanted to throw in the fact that Vin, every time a big moment has happened, he lets the crowd take it, and I feel like Vin was the guy to sort of start that. Of course, he's older, but I feel like that was something from Vin that you can't take it by your words, but you can take it by not talking and just letting the crowd take the magic and take the play.
He also worked alone most of the time.
Scully,
on the Dodger broadcast toward the end. Apparently he was given that ability. You know who one of his down on the field announcers was?
Who?
Sean Farnham.
Really?
So during the SEC tournament, I went up to Sean and I said, you may not remember this. I said, but you did a bunch of imitations of Vin on our show several years ago. He goes, oh, I remember. He said, that was hilarious. Well, it was hilarious for us because Sean had him down beautifully.
That's funny. Sean had to be young.
Oh, yeah. I think he was just out of college.
Wow.
And, he had been at UCLA and somehow he ends up, getting it out there. He's a broadcast major or whatever. And
nice little start for Sean Farnham.
Nice little start, indeed, in a real good talent. Sean's
he's great.
Very good.
Yeah, he's great. I saw him from afar at the SEC tournament in Nashville walking around. He does really well with those sideline reporter jobs.
Here's another one you don't know about him. Do you know who he worked for a year?
Who?
Jan Van Bredikoff.
Really?
At Pepperdine. I did not know that until this year.
You learn something new every day.
I'm telling you, you stick around with me, kiddo. You'll learn some stuff.
Well, we'll see if we learn anything.
You'll learn that the number on the right seems to be bigger than the number on the left.
Yeah, all of a sudden, the tables have turned.
Watson got the final laugh in this deal because he predicted this.
He did.
He said I was going to take the gas.
He sure did. We're lucky we don't have him on Fridays these last couple of weeks.
So at my Kiwanis club today, last week they asked me who I thought would be there at the end, and I said Alabama and Houston. And so when they did brag bag, somebody took a shot at me. And so I came back I got a level with y'all. I said, in the last 15 plays, I think I'm like 1-13. It's embarrassing.
Watson called it.
Yes, he did. And he enjoyed it.
Well, 146 and 149, the UAB game, that was brutal last night. I asked David.
That was a rock fight, guys.
I didn't catch it. He said it was a good game. They lost by about 8. So, I mean, North Texas,
Man.
we didn't talk a whole lot about them, but all of a sudden, Conference USA looks like a behemoth of a conference.
Have you all seen a game with more intensity?
Well, I didn't get to watch a whole lot of it. I don't know if David did.
I didn't get to watch it either.
Man,
I watched a little bit of the beginning.
Rock fight. There were no real clean possessions in the game. I mean, it was played as though both teams knew each other, knew every last move. And Fran Fraschilla in the broadcast, and I think he's a real talent.
Yeah.
He really talked about watch how this guy knows what this guy's best move is. You don't see that very often on the college level.
No, and it's a shame they didn't get a great crowd last night at Orleans Arena. In
No,
Vegas.
that thing didn't work. I don't think the way everybody
most people
hoped.
Envisioned. Yeah, I miss Madison Square Garden. You never had a bad crowd there. You know, I mean, it was never real, unless you had a couple duds, but they usually had some pretty good teams there.
That game might have been better at Middle. You know,
give them some $5 tickets.
Yeah,
that's a good point, George. They had played. That was the 4th time, so those teams knew each other like the back of their hand. But 2 talented teams, so
it was
fun.
It was a rock fight. Nothing came easy.
All right, George, I'll ask you with the Kiwanis Club, same question. Who you got this weekend? We'll kind of roles reversed. Here.
Okay, let's start with the women's game tonight. I've been goaded into this, and I'm going to take Iowa. I've seen Caitlin Clark. By the way, the guitar scoreboard looks great back there, doesn't it?
Sure does.
We're trying to take it with us on the road.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay.
When we go to Ford Ice Center, let's haul that thing in there.
Can we borrow that?
Yeah. I think she's going to have a monster game. I don't think Iowa's going to win, but I do think they're going to cover. That's a lot of points.
David, how much did they beat their last team by? It was 8 or 9. It was, it might have been by single digits.
I'm not sure, but South Carolina is really good too. Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark are going to be a matchup. I know they're not going to defend each other, but that's 2 AP Women of the Year players right there.
I mean, there's a reason why they've got a shot to be back-to-back national title winners.
But it's hard to go back to back.
Oh, it's very difficult.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
So,
and what are they? 38-0?
36-0?
36-0.
What's been their closest scare?
Might have been the last game. I forget who they played, but they won by 9 or 10. It wasn't a blowout, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've been blowing teams out of the water. So that's why this game is intriguing for me. I don't know how Iowa matches up with them. Most teams don't match up well.
South Carolina is so long.
Yeah.
So athletic down low.
And George said it earlier, Caitlin Clark is going to have to go for at least 30.
She's going to have to be out of her mind.
She's the only player we know on Iowa of note.
But this is a little bit of, remember when Mississippi State pulled the upset? Was it UConn they beat on the women's level?
Game winner.
This feels like it could have some of that same kind of stuff.
Yeah. Bright lights, Dallas.
And probably more attention on the women's game this year than I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was Maryland. They won by 11. So
they've had some close games this year. They had 2 overtime games, one against Ole Miss in conference play and one against Stanford. But South Carolina also plays a tough schedule. It's not like they're underprepared for the moment. They played UConn, they played Stanford, they played some of the top teams in the country as well.
And Iowa's a 3 seed. The last game was against a 7 seed in Maryland. So all of a sudden, this is an up in competition. Not that they haven't seen it, but
step up in class.
But how about this? We're talking about the women's Final Four. I mean,
yeah, and
they've said that ticket prices have skyrocketed, that they're going to get a lot of viewership. I think it's $212 is the least amount or the cheapest ticket you can buy for tonight.
Well, they've done a smart thing. First of all, the women's game right now doesn't need to be in some 60,000 seat dome.
No.
And frankly, this will be me talking out of both sides of my mouth, because when Nashville builds a dome, I'm going to want the Final Four here. But I think the viewer enjoyment of the Final Four was a lot higher when you were playing in 18 to 20,000 seat arenas. But this is, in the NCAA's infinite wisdom, their attempt to grab every last dollar they can get.
And, I think
they're getting it.
I think players and coaches would rather play in a smaller place.
They would.
I mean, how hard is it to shoot in those massive football stadiums?
I think it's very hard.
Yeah.
My last point on this is that the women's game has star power. A Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston. in the men's side, there is no one star that you want to go and watch them play.
And I was telling my brother this. I said that there are more stars. Like you said, there's stars in the women's game.
Angel Reese of LSU is really good as well. So Kim Mulkey in herself, her antics on the sideline, she's a star. So
there's character, there's color in the women's game. It's fun.
Let's see what happens. That one's tonight. That's game 2 of the doubleheader tonight. Should start 8:20, 8:30 Nashville time.
Yep.
Listen, I've been wrong on this one from the get-go. I think I am probably like 0-3 on FAU. Memphis got them. Memphis had them beat at one point. Tennessee should have had them beat in the second half, didn't close the deal. Kansas State, I believed, was one possession away, didn't get it done. I don't know what I can't figure out what it is about FAU, but San Diego State will guard the crap out of them. And that ultimately is why I think San Diego State's going to win in an ugly, just like last night, a rock fight.
I think Matthew was right. This could be very ugly at first. Both teams that have never been to the Final Four, not particularly.
A lot of nerves.
Right. San Diego State is not a particularly good offensive team.
No.
FAU is a team that's streaky. So this could be ugly at first.
George brought his cousin on the show yesterday. Just keeps on picking against them. You can't pick against family, George. Come on.
Sure you can.
Okay.
When there's money involved, who
Okay.
cares?
There we go.
I'm telling Uncle George about this.
Did you send Uncle George the tape?
I will.
Yeah. So, David, the answer there was no, he has not. We'll call Uncle George after the
Actually,
show's
no,
over.
I did. I sent him the YouTube link of it because it was
Did
too
you?
long to send him. Yeah.
Okay.
Promise.
So the third game, I just think UConn's on a roll. Now, I'll say this. The only thing I've gotten right in March was I did say at one point, Miami is a dark horse that people better pay attention to. Remember when I said it?
Yeah.
Give me $1.
Well, Mark Griffin just said it too. I mean, they've got shot makers.
And for me, it was when they took Duke behind the woodshed at home, beat them by 20. I was like, wow. I don't know. UConn seems like they're on this magic roll. I mean, it's not like they beat Gonzaga by 4 to advance. They won by almost 30.
And you could say they've had the easiest path of all the Final Four teams.
I'm going with UConn.
I don't
Period.
I don't know if this is disrespect coming out of my mouth, but I think this is the real national championship game. I think the
It
winner
is.
of this game is going to win the national championship. I think it's going to be UConn out of this game. They just look so good.
But it also feels a little bit like going way back before you all were born. It feels like the Phi Slamma Jamma game, Houston, Louisville. And, you know, there were 40 million dunks in that game. And all of a sudden, here comes NC State, who nobody believes in. Little old NC State. I don't know. I wonder.
And we've been wrong how many
A lot.
times?
Well,
this
a
tournament?
bunch.
I mean, we have tried to predict these games, and we just
That's
don't know.
why the right hand number is bigger than the left hand.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, thank you to the Sounds for the great hospitality today. Thanks to Jeff Him for joining us. He's a terrific announcer, and I hope some of you hear him this weekend. Have a great weekend. We'll be back with you on Monday from the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue, our new permanent studio. And later next week, we will have a little bit of an announcement about something we're going to do that I think you're going to be excited about. Thanks for being with us. Have a good weekend.